You do not realize the enormous waste of energy which you expend in denying truth. This is Alison Anton. You're listening to the ForgiveNest Podcast for A Course in Miracles, your place to explore ACIM topics in meditation, healing, and your special function in forgiveness. This is part 2 of my course-based series called The Root of All Emotion. The topic of emotion is expansive. The Buddha said there's 84,000 afflicted emotions. A Course in Miracles says there's only one: fear. Let's posit that all the tens of thousands of variations on the theme stem from this one. But let's consider that even before an emotion can arise, a state of mind is setting the tone. In some way, emotions can be thought of as a state of mind, or at least an expression of a state of mind. We can see a state of mind as the springboard that initiates the emotion. But most importantly, both Jesus from A Course in Miracles and the Buddha say this original state of mind is what initiates the entire construct of the world of form, which is a dream state or a delusion. Jesus calls this the separation, or in traditional Christianity, the fall, and the Buddha calls it samsara. Both say it's a state of delusional wandering through needless cycles of life and death. All the various afflicted emotions hold us in that state. I think every person on every spiritual path asks the same question. How, when, and why could it have happened in the first place that we separated from true reality? I know what A Course in Miracles says about this, but recently I looked up what the Buddha said about it. It turns out he said, specifically, nothing. He said it's a question that can't be answered from the perspective of our current state of mind and shouldn't be pondered much at all because it won't help us get out of the situation we're in. Jesus says the same thing. He encourages us all throughout the Course to look at our current situation very carefully, and that all unanswered questions about what happened in what seems like the past can be answered right here and right now in the present moment in our current state. We can do our best at conceptualizing the separation, but the goal really is to have just enough of an idea to help us see what's really happening right now. Jesus gives us just enough information about it that can actually be helpful for our learning. He even told Helen that he'd tell her anything she needed to know about her past, but only if it's actually helpful for her function and her spiritual progress. Part 1 of this series was about that original state of mind that led toward the illusion of separation and the world we see in front of our eyes. But the point of the Course, and the point of this series too, is that this original state of mind is the state of mind we're in right here and right now. Let's not forget that. I want to review part 1 quickly, but then we'll delve right into the next link in the chain that perpetuates the illusion. Projection keeps all of this going. This is the idea of externalization, or the concept of the other. So we talked in part 1 about 3 elements that make up the state of mind, or the springboard for this illusory, dreamlike thought system we're in. To recap our discussion from part 1, these elements are, number 1, a driving thought. The driving thought we have is something akin to hubristic pride, or a sense of arrogance or superiority. Jesus calls this the authority problem, which is our wish to be the author of our own reality versus accepting the fact, as the Course says, that we are the divine creation of God, not what we have made ourselves out to be. This erroneous thought of autonomy was actually corrected by God the moment we thought of it. But a part of our mind is still playing that thought out. It's enacting that thought. This part of our mind is deluded or in a fantasy. Which leads us to number 2, which is will. In order to act out this thought of wanting to be God or usurp God, we used our will to go into a deep state of ignorance or denial. It's kind of the original deep fake. We have to deep fake our own selves out of remembering who we are because we can't actually erase our true identity and then recreate ourselves in a different fashion. Faking ourselves out of true reality and then replacing ourselves with an illusion is the only solution to fulfilling this desire of ours to dissociate from our Creator. Of course, we could have and still can simply choose to value the idea that we are as God created us. But again, this aspect of our mind wants to play this idea out. Then comes number 3, action or energy. We have to take action to conjure up this deep fake. And it takes a lot of energy to do it. It's actually very easy for us to see the truth at any time because the truth is always there and it's what's real. But the Course says we simply don't want to see it. I'm going to repeat our opening line here. You do not realize the enormous waste of energy which you expend in denying truth. Denial is a positive, active stance. And I don't mean positive like good, but positive like a forward movement. It's not just a neutral position. We often think of denying something as a neutral position, but turning away from truth is a constant, continual motion or movement taken by us. The energy we use to initiate and uphold our chosen ignorance is what Jesus calls attack thoughts. So the original attack thought, we could say, was/is our idea that we could attack God. Remember, we're dreaming at this point. It's not possible to attack God or anything, actually. The mere thought of this puts us into an illusory dream state. Even though attack thoughts can't actually be carried out in God's reality, we can consider them an offensive act on our part. We can even say it's an aggressive act. Thoughts such as these can only lead to non-constructive or non-creative realities, i.e., a timeline, which is a dream state or delusion. And so here we are in this dream of time together, and also where we left off from last episode. So let's start here with this idea of attack thoughts in relation to today's topic of projection onto the other. Projection always centers around attack thoughts, and it always has to have an other. As course students, we have to keep in mind our original goal of attack. Not to punish ourselves, but to stay conscious of something important. Our goal was to uphold a sense of seniority by way of believing we are the authors of our own reality. It clearly doesn't look or feel like this to us in the here and the now. We've hidden it so deeply in our subconscious mind, and we have to train ourselves each day to recognize it. Recognizing that attack thoughts are always at play, we can see how projection naturally has to follow. Attack thoughts actually are the basis for projection. Like I said, projection needs an other, and our first other is God and the kingdom of God. But projection also needs guilt. Our own perceived attack on God has that covered in at least 2 ways. First, of course, is the deep shame of merely holding in our minds the thought that we attacked God and the kingdom of true reality. The dream we're in makes this supposed attack to be a very plausible scenario. On a deeply subconscious level, we believe it. But we also add a bonus guilty punishment in there. If I'm willing to attack God, surely God must be willing to attack me, either preemptively or in retaliation. So now we have a double dose of guilt and punishment, our own self-punishment, as well as the incoming punishment from a God we think could strike at any time. And our dream only downward spirals and becomes more diluted from here. Instead of accepting correction for these errors and being back home in God, we go deeper and deeper into hiding, in which we displace our guilt onto another other, and another, and another, and another. This is the world of bodies as we view it from our current separated state of mind. Guilt is always involved, and according to the Course, always, with no exception, we hide our own perceived guilt by throwing it outward, making it so the other is the guilty party. The world I see is a picture of attack on everything and by everything. It is my own attack thoughts which give rise to this picture. There's anger and aggression involved, frankly. I know we don't always want to admit that that's happening in our own mind as conscientious spiritual people. We want to believe our actions of attack are only in response to something that's attacking us first. Jesus clearly says again and again that this is not correct. Seeing someone as attacking us first is an attack upon them by us. I don't recall Jesus ever using the term passive-aggressive. There's really no such thing. The Course says that what seems like a defensive tactic on our part is actually an offensive tactic on our part. We hide this original MO deep in our mind. Our perceived attackers are our parents, our spouses, our coworkers, our friends, our enemies, the person in front of us in line at the grocery store with 100 items, the Trumps. And not just people, of course, but situations, circumstances, and events. Jesus says, "How can I know who I am when I see myself as under constant attack? Pain, illness, loss, age, and death seem to threaten me. All my hopes and wishes and plans seem to be at the mercy of a world I cannot control." We conjure up the dream in a way in which other people and situations are always coming at us. We do this to keep ourselves in a very superficial state of fear, using our interpersonal relationships to do this, which is actually just keeping at bay a very deep and extraordinarily painful underpinning of our own intrapersonal guilt. The undercurrent of fear and guilt is so extreme that the entire dream now turns into a recurring nightmare of guilt, punishment, and fear that carries out through our relationships and holds all of us in a perpetual cycle of life and death, life and death, and life and death. Guilt feelings are the preservers of time. They induce fears of future retaliation or abandonment, and thus ensure that the future will remain like the present. So these are the current emotions we see clearly everywhere. Arrogance, ignorance, attack, guilt, and fear are the reflections of the state of mind we're in. But also, in a very real way, they are the state of mind we're in. They're all cogs in a wheel of projection that can't perform without each other. The ego uses these in tandem to keep our illusions manifest. Arrogance, ignorance, attack, guilt, and fear can be found right here and right now in all their 84,000 forms. In their most raw or primordial form, they're what originally made the projected physical body. But we still see them. They're right here, right now, reflecting in the body and from the body. The original thoughts are projected from the mind to the subtle body, and from there, the body translates them into emotions that get expressed through the gross physical form. We use that emotion to help carry out our unconscious attack thoughts. Both Jesus and the Buddha say we can get out of this cycle of projection we made. Both say it takes enormous diligence on our part, and both say the first step is recognizing it for what it is. Know first, this is fear. We're going to stop here for now. This is just a skimming of the surface of projection, but my intention for this episode is to give you a lead in to the next episode in this series. Next up is a conversation on the many ways that emotion presents to us in the body. Then we'll look at what to do with them. To many of us, emotions feel so tangible we can almost touch them. They're so present. But that's just the outermost effect. There's an underlying, ineffable presentation of emotion covered over by the gross body that we have to look deeper to see and feel. Both of these displays, the gross and the subtle, are happening simultaneously. And we now know that the mind is what's generating them. The body doesn't actually have a mind of its own to generate anything on its own. And I'll leave you with that to ponder. I'm Alison Anton with the ForgiveNest Podcast for A Course in Miracles. We'll see you in part 3 of The Root of All Emotion. It was great talking to you.